So how have you been? It's been like 10 years since we talked.
It's been like a few months, I think.
It feels like
I'm very tired. How are you?
I am a bit ill. I've
Oh yeah?
been doing, yes, my stomach has been hurting from about the 14th.
Oof. You get that looked at or
Sorry?
have you gotten that looked at yet or
I took some medicine, but
okay.
maybe it's just stress.
Hmm.
It's very, very unfortunate. I'm
So what's on your mind?
So yes, and I've been trying to do the stream thing, you know? It's been, how should I say? Slow. I'm a slow grower,
It's
you know?
uh so am I. It's a slog.
Yeah. I think it sort of dropped a bit ever since I went to the hospital. Felt like the growth was faster before the hospital and
Well, I
sort of
think
like,
also like
oh,
all the little networks that would have like helped you out back then, they kind of collapsed over the last little bit. It's been a lot of
networks. What
been
sort
a
of
lot of
networks?
yeah, a lot of breakdown in like lefty stream spheres. It's been fun.
Yeah, what's been happening? What networks collapsed?
Well, the whole like Xanderhal, Keffels, Demon Mama, like all those people are now little islands that don't interact with each other anymore. Vosh, of course, kind of shit the bed with the tax folder thing and how he handled that.
I just don't touch it.
Don't even get me. Not even gonna touch the Xena and Poppy thing. Like it's
Oh,
just
I
if
don't even know what that is about.
I know a little bit about what that's about, and I think I think you have a blessed situation with respect to that if you don't.
I don't, and I don't think I ever will.
Well, good for you.
And of course, I don't know. I don't know if the thing that I go for would smash with the networks, you know? I not many people from the does Sanderhall talk about Ukraine at all?
I don't watch Xanderhal, so I couldn't tell you. I think the main thing is like anything educational or serious, it takes work to watch, so it's tiring. Da 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 da. So it's always going to have like smaller returns. It is what it
Mm,
is.
it is, sadly. But you have sort of made it work, no?
I mean, sort of. It took like 4 years though, right? So I don't know. I don't know if I made it work so much as like I just kind of kept on trucking. But
Like the theory versus drama thing, the meters, sort
yeah,
of.
but the trick with that though, like food shops tried that, and the problem with like the meter thing only works because people already wanted me to do theory segments or drama segments. If they didn't already want me to do those, nobody would pay me.
What sort of theory would food shops do?
That is an excellent and terrifying question.
Because if there's a drama meter and there's a theory meter, what sort of theory would delve in? What would food shops delve into?
Anything that gives her the opportunity to self-identify as a pedophile, judging by what we've seen recently.
Oh, wait, what? What
Oh, you
have
didn't see
I?
that, did you? Okay.
No, what happened?
It's a lot to get into. Food shops, for whatever reason, thought it would be a really smart idea to uh, talk at length on stream about how she wants to have a 12-year-old girlfriend wrapped around her or something.
12-year-old girlfriend
Yep, you heard me right.
in real life.
I certainly hope not.
Well, what? How else would you interpret it?
Uh, Reluctantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's at the length.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Hang
Oh,
on. She did. Didn't she do She did a theory stream on Mein Kampf. I think she read Mein Kampf on stream.
I guess that would be something that my father would watch.
Oh yeah.
He was a big Hitler and Stalin fan. He made me read Hitler and
Oh, well,
Stalin comparative biography.
that's something you and Brianna Wu
Yeah.
have in common.
She's also a big. Her father was a big Hitler and Stalin fan.
I don't know specifically, but I think they would have gotten on.
Yeah. He made me read Hitler and Stalin uh, comparative biography at the age of like 11.
Comparative biography.
Yeah, by it's by an author called Bullock.
Was it like sympathetic to Hitler or something, or?
No,
Okay.
it's just a biography of them both. It's a neutral biography, historical biography.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Bullock is a historian. So my
Oh, B U
grandfather
L O
also
C. Oh, B U
Yeah,
L O C K. No, no.
Alan Bullock. Alan Bullock, the historian. He made like this Hitler and Stalin
Oh, it's coming back to me. Yeah, yeah,
parallel
yeah. He did.
parallel lives.
He did. He did the. I recognize him because he did the Hitler biography, the Study in Tyranny. That one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I haven't read it. I've seen it.
I've
Okay.
read the biography of them both as a child. So yes, I've been made to be an expert on Hitler and Stalin from a young age.
Cool. I didn't really
You could say
plan.
that.
I didn't really plan any particular topic. Was there anything on your mind, or?
No, I just to check in, to sort of touch base,
Okay.
to how they say network. Yes,
I
especially since
I
yes.
I worry that networking with me doesn't have the return that it does with some people.
Let's see with whom.
Oh, just I don't pull that kind of audience where you kind of build yourself off me. So
Let's see.
yeah.
Like
What's
wait, hold on.
what's your strategy going forward? Like what are you wanting to do, like with your channel?
Well, I want to do history. I
Hmm.
probably will cover current events like Ukraine.
Yeah.
I'm the big Polish trans streamer, so I'm an Eastern European representative. So of course I do Ukraine every day, talking about it.
Can you explain what that is?
Ukraine,
Yeah.
Ukraine
Oh,
in
I see what you're
Polish,
saying. Gotcha.
Ukraine and Polish, and in Ukrainian for that matter, Ukraine. Yeah,
My
talking about the
partner's
war.
my partner's randomly learning Ukrainian.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's very amused at how the words sound in English.
it's we share 70% of vocabulary.
Yeah, he was saying that about Polish as well, because he was, I think he was watching something in Polish. He was like, "Oh, I recognize that. Weird."
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
because Ukrainian is similar. Like the word yes is the same, tak, and many other words. It's just that the alphabet is different, for example, because Poland was more in the sphere of the Holy Roman Empire. The Germans sort of baptized Poland. And Kiev Rus was different. You know?
I don't actually, because I am historically ignorant in some vast ways.
Oh, you don't?
Because I took political science, they don't teach you shit there. It's awful,
You don't teach you
awful degree.
history, political science?
God no, you wouldn't be able to do
We?
political science if you knew history.
What do you mean? Wait. Well, like, I heard you have your problems with IR, international
Yeah, but
relations.
not just international relations. Like the whole thing is kind of a wash. Like
But
don't get me
international
wrong, there are
relations?
some really interesting people who are in political science, but I don't think they do. I don't think like working strictly within political science, a whole lot of interesting work is done. It always bleeds
Oh.
out into like philosophy or sociology or something else or anthropology. Like strictly political science stuff. You know what you get from that? You get like people who may as well just be doing stats, or you get Francis Fukuyama. The only interesting stuff in political science is stuff that's devoted to pointing out how screwed up political science is.
Oh, but IR sort of goes into history a lot, no?
Political science does, or IR does.
IR,
I mean,
international relations.
it attempts to like break down history into sort of gamified rules, but it doesn't really do an in-depth analysis of history. It's actually kind of anti-critical with respect to history.
Interesting.
That's why a lot of IR like will make references to, like, Thucydides and whatnot. Which, by the way, if you know
So,
anything about Thucydides, you will not use it as a history text.
so what is your big criticism of IR?
A big criticism of IR.
Yeah.
It's a completely ideological construct that attempts to separate the world into impermeable lines that are legible from like a bird's eye view, so that you
Mm-hmm.
can make predictions about the future, which end up informing like states as to what actions they should take, which end up causing a self-fulfilling prophecy because, or end up being a self-fulfilling prophecy because, of course, you have all of these resources now being and all of these powers being devoted towards these specific courses of action, and so people
Mm-hmm.
respond as if those things are, this is how it actually works, and so on and so forth. Like
Mm-hmm.
you even have Xi Jinping now working with like making statements. I think in like 2017. I can't remember the exact details, but you have Xi Jinping referencing Allison's Thucydides trap concept, which is literally just based on an equivocation between the greatness slash power of Athens, depending on your translation, and military tech in the present day. And so
Mm-hmm.
he conjectures like, well, the increased military technology, as we can see from the example of the Lacedaemonians and the Athenians, is going to lead to a preemptive strike, and there's no way out of it. That's why it's a trap, and it's like
So,
it's both stupid, like from a historical perspective, and it's dangerous.
what do you think of the breakdown of those like main schools, realism, uh, and liberalism, constructivism? Was it the third? What do you think of?
I think the only really coherent school that's within international relations, just because international
Mm-hmm.
relations presumes it at some fundamental level, is the
Mm-hmm.
realist school. And I think when you get out of that, you're basically dealing with not international relations anymore. Like when you're talking about like the differences between the different schools of international relations theory, you're fundamentally talking
Mm-hmm.
about different conceptions of the behaviors and the psychology
Mm-hmm.
of entities that are already agreed upon as existing, like states, nations, et cetera, all those things.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of fundamentally mistaken, because I don't think these things have that cognitive property in that way. I don't think they operate like human subjects in a state of nature or something like that. And I
As
think
individuals, that is what
as individuals, yeah,
realism poses. That states
yes,
basically are like individuals on a
not just like
larger
individuals,
scale.
but they have self-interest and they're motivated by self-interest, so on and so forth. So it's
Yeah,
individuals
but it
adopting a specific like
basically,
psychological attitude.
yeah,
Yeah,
it says that everyone's selfish and states are like individuals who are
yeah.
selfish. But then I guess liberalism says that there are certain international rules that sort of should be more governing and that people are fundamentally good, which I'm not sure.
Well, you're talking about idealism. I mean, the fundamental problem with international relations isn't even that they're talking about states or like suggesting that states can like have behaviors or whatever, because like you can see that states do certain kinds of things, and
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of have at a working level just say, okay, let's pretend the world is divided into these things. We see them labeled on a map, and these things as such engage in certain types of behaviors. At the very least, we tend to talk about them as if they engage in these types of behaviors, so you can sort of
Mm-hmm.
reason like coherently about that. The main danger
Sure.
about international relations is that it's what's in between the lines. So, in international relations theory, there is, if you have states that have these cognitive faculties, right? So they're construed as individuals. Well, then there is actually a sharp line between them. A state ends where another's agency begins, and in that in between is where the devil lies here, because you have order within states, and then you have a realm of
Yeah.
chaos between states. This is called the international discourse of anarchy, or this is
So
called the
realism
idea of
itself
international
states that.
anarchy.
So
It's essentially like state of nature thinking at the level of the globe.
Yeah, well, realism itself states that the international sort of that countries just operate within an anarchical system. No.
Yeah. So like from that you get sort of this idea of these dynamics between individuals that have their own self-interest. Well, this will play out in a specific predetermined way. We can
Hmm.
predict how this will happen,
Or
and
wouldn't
that
that
leads to, yeah, go
mean
on.
sort of like that according to realism, international law is basically worthless?
Yeah, essentially. Well, it's not existent, more like. International law would just be like some a shorthand way for describing customary agreements between state agencies, but the norms themselves wouldn't actually have any real force, which is not actually what happens in the real world. They do have actual
Yeah,
force.
they. I mean,
Yeah.
also, I mean, the mileage will vary, but
Well, yeah, because it's fundamentally it is based on like who has the power, who has the privileged position, and so on and so forth. But there is more unity at the global level, and there is a culture between states that exists beyond what a lot of IR realists will describe. This is one of the reasons why Mearsheimer is just a really silly guy.
right.
Yeah.
So would you say that because there's been realists that's been commenting on the Ukraine war, right?
Among other things, yeah.
And there's been also a lot of talk about how Russia wants to uproot a certain world order that has been placed in right now. Yes, right?
Yep.
So wouldn't that be sort of, couldn't you basically frame it as like a might makes right realism versus international law order sort of thing? If you'd want to simplify it.
Well, I mean, if you want to be like, if if you want to be like, just kind of real about it, like obviously might makes right. And at this when we're talking about any of this stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
the
Well, it
problem
sort of
with
depends on where you want the might to be centered, in a
well,
way.
the problem here is that the self-interested nature of the state that's being applied leads to a de facto justification of reckless, violent actions on the grounds that you have identified an opposing force that itself has an individuality vis-a-vis that other thing. Like that's kind of where the danger is, and therefore, like the pragmatic move becomes like playing a game of chess. When you're not playing a game of chess, you're not really you're not actually playing many like games at all. There are all of these little integrated things. It is so complicated, and it is not simply a matter of like, oh, you have to like tit for tat, send signals, boom, 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 boom. I think we were talking about Iran and Israel exchanging bombs yesterday,
Yeah.
and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's an excellent case in point. There is a need in that context to play at that kind of game, but there is a very strong need to not actually engage in it, which is why they're telegraphing in advance. This is where we're going to shoot, da, 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 and they target specific things and then go, okay, we can stop now.
Or then Israel still
Well,
retaliated, right?
that's the catch, is because Israel's crazy. So, but that's why Iran had such a measured response, because it has to respond. It cannot let itself be known as being able to be just attacked with impunity, either internationally or domestically. But
Mm-hmm.
it also cannot get into an actual extended fire exchange with Israel.
Well, there's also the fact that Iran is a little bit in a different situation or position than, let's say, Russia is, right?
Well, Brooks is saying Israel had a measured response as well. I think Israel had a measured response, but I think what Lucy's referring to is their rhetoric after the fact, where it seems to be escalatory. Sorry, what were you
But
saying?
also, Iran is in a little bit of a different situation, position slash than, let's say, Russia, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Because, like, for example, as far as I know, Iran is not yet a nuclear power, right?
As far as we know, but I mean, as far
As
as we
far
know,
as we
also
know.
neither is Israel. So it's like Israel
Oh,
can build them. Do we know for certain that they have nukes? I was under the impression that we were completely in the dark about both. It's sort of like
hmm.
it's kind of
Yeah, but
quasi. Yeah.
what I'm more referring to is to the uh, sort of the reaction of Israel's allies will be a little bit different than the reaction of Ukraine's allies, let's say, right? Like all of the missiles were just shut down, including by the allies, and that is not what is going to happen when, for example, Ukraine cities are going to be bombarded.
There.
NATO
Oh,
will not swoop in with their own equipment and shoot down all the Russian missiles because that will be escalation. That would be bad against a nuclear power.
yep. Probably. Um. Yep.
And in the case of Iran, they'll just do it. They'll just shoot them
Well,
down.
that's the value of nukes is their deterrent power. It's not because they're actually useful in an exchange. At that point, it's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's. I've been told to do a promo of what I'm planning to do. Like I'm going to be covering Irish travelers and Romani history. I'm gonna be, I might be able to talk to a traveler in the future.
That'd be interesting.
So
Let me
that's
know. Let
gonna
me know when
be
that's happening. I'll watch that.
thank you. Because I've like it all started, as you know, with my non-debate with a certain streamer that sort of told his audience, "I'm definitely going to debate. I'm going to debate. I'm going to debate Lucy. In fact, let's watch my video right now." And he did.
Who is this?
And then Chad Logic.
Oh God, that's a while ago.
Yeah. Do you remember that he did the Irish Travelers video? And then we agreed to debate it. And then after I left, he started watching that video and said, "Oh, I will definitely do it. I will definitely do the debate." And then just
Did that happen?
sort of
Oh, it didn't happen, huh?
no. Then he just sort of
Shud
ghosted me.
logic, you cad, you coward. What is this?
Yeah, he just sort of ghosted me. He just sort of ended in nothing.
Unbelievable.
He stopped talking about me altogether after that talk I had with him.
You scared him off. That's your mistake. You made my mistake. You have to, you know, be non-threatening early on.
I was
Then
not
then you
threatening.
get him.
That's why, in fact, I was boring, according to his audience. Maybe that's why he
Now, see,
didn't want to talk
that's
about me
threatening to some
anymore.
people.
Being boring is threatening.
Exactly.
Well, how? I
How?
don't. Yeah.
Well, because you know someone who's boring, um, is willing to do the boring stuff of preparing, and also it's physically painful. It's gonna be a torture session to actually do the debate. So
Well, thank you. Thank you for.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
I'm just telling you the truth, okay?
Yeah, I'm boring. Okay, I see.
I don't think you're boring. The problem is people think I'm boring, so me saying that doesn't have any currency.
I see. Well, I guess my problem is that I don't even interact with any people that actually talk about Ukraine.
Well, who'd you have in mind? Who talks about Ukraine you'd want to interact with?
I don't know. Anybody.
You popped on Lonerbox a few times.
I did, yeah. I. We're going to have a debate
You're gonna have a debate with Lonerbox. When's this?
when he does his reading.
When he does his reading on what?
Sorry?
When he does
On
it
the Holodomor.
on the Holodomor.
Yeah, because I'm saying it's a genocide and he's not sure.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Are you?
I did. I
Yeah?
didn't. I didn't. I didn't strike him as a Hakim fan, but
Hakim fan? What do you mean?
well, that's Hakim's whole thing, right? You know who Hakim
That he
is?
doesn't believe the Holodomor was a genocide?
No, he had videos that he took down
About the Holodomor?
about the Holodomor, the Holodomor,
Oh,
as
the
some
Great
people
Hunger,
call
as
it.
we call it in Poland.
Yeah.
I've got a big fat. I'm gonna show you. I show it to
Who wants to
everybody.
do?
So I
Who
have
wants
to
to do
show it
called the
to you as well.
Holodomor? Somebody said that. I'm trying to remember. Somebody embarrassed themselves on TV or on YouTube.
Oof! Look, it's a big book, fat thick book about the Great Hunger in Ukraine. but it's filled with documents, with primary sources. It's half Ukrainian, half Polish.
That sounds miserable.
And it sounds great. Sounds amazing. And according to it, it's a genocide. So I believe you also believe that it was a genocide, yes?
I would probably consider it to be multiple genocides.
Oh, that is true. But in this case, I mean against the Ukrainian people.
Sure, yeah.
But there were, of course, other peoples that were sort of like the Kazakhs, yes? I believe.
Um, even I mean, I would consider I consider at like a social level most amalgamatory acts that dissolve existing distinctions between groups to be opening the door to possible genocidal action by themselves, simply because it erases them from consideration.
Obviously.
So, I mean, that's not a super common approach to that, but
Hmm.
like for example, like I would regard the institution of slavery in the United States as genocidal, even if there wasn't a
Oh,
concerted
you
effort to
mean
exterminate like black people specifically, right?
the US itself took that into consideration when it decided not to ratify the Genocide Convention during Lemkin's lifetime.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised. One of the unfortunate things about that whole thing is that all of the signatories were guilty of genocide when they did so.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
And do you know what the I ask this people sometimes. Do you know what the main purpose of the convention was for Lemkin from his perspective?
Remind me. I read this with Doe,
So
so I would probably know, but
there was this notion before the war, and even shortly after the war, that a nation's sovereignty meant that a nation should be able to just do of its citizens what it
hmm,
would will, kill its
yeah,
citizens. And basically, the Lemkin at some point before the war, there was this case where Armenian genocide perpetrators sort of ran away from Turkey and hid in some other country, and a survivor of the Armenian genocide killed them, right?
yeah.
And he got arrested and tried for it. And Lemkin asked his colleague, "How is it that this guy committed such an atrocity and is basically okay, but the guy who got revenge and killed him is punished,
Hmm,
right?" And the response was, "Well, you see, it's basically like this. If someone has," and that was the actual analogy the person used. If someone has a coop full of chicken, right?
yeah.
And the person kills the chicken, then that's fine because it's his chicken. But when an outsider comes and tries to intervene, then they're a criminal because they're meddling with someone's property. And it's the same with states,
Hmm.
you know?
Let me know
They're
when
like
the
chicken.
let me know when that debate comes up. I'm gonna get onto my theory segment because my throat's going.
Okay.
Yeah, and I need to. This is already gonna be torture as is. But we'll chat again soon. Let me know when you have the traveler on, and let me know when if that loner bots
Yes.
debate ever materializes, because that'd be interesting to
Yes.
see.
I will
I
leave you with
don't
this.
I don't think Chud Logic's gonna follow up.
I
I
don't
would
think.
abandon hope with that one. I don't think that's his jam
So
anymore.
I will leave you with this sentence of the whole point of the Genocide Convention was to limit the sovereignty of different countries. That's the point because even Germany was not tried for killing German Jewish people after the war. Never. Okay. So I will see you.
See ya. Thanks for coming on, Lucy. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.